very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. We've got the latest of news lined up for you here tonight. I'm Charlotte Benedict.
And I'm Dasnia Father. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Former Minister TBA Kanayaka appears before the FCID. Has the outbreak of a viral flu only affected the southern province? Railway Technical Trade Union to launch 48-hour token strike tomorrow. Is there a possible link between the Halambagay Premasiri murder and match fixing at the Galle Cricket Stadium?
Former Cultural Affairs Minister TBA Kanayaka was summoned to the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division today. Chaturanga Hapuarachi reports.
Now, this is the first time that the former minister was brought in for questioning at the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division with regard to this misuse, or rather a cab being given to the viharayas to be used during a certain time frame. Now, with regard to this particular case, the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division has been able to question several members working at the Cultural Fund as well as 5 drivers of the minister in previous occasions. A part of Chatham Street in Colombo has also been shut down opposite the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division because the former minister was brought in here for questioning.
I did not have any of these cultural funds. You know that recently a relic of Lord Buddha was discovered at the Nilagiri Viharya. Several relics were brought to the Madanwala Rajama Viharya in our village, and as the minister at the time, I provided my official vehicle to transport the relics. So then I should be summoned too for providing a vehicle for Lord Buddha. This is filth. It is ugly political victimization.
When he held the ministerial portfolio, there was no problem at all. He just stepped out as part of the gang of 16 and started acting separately, and now they are chasing after him. They are trying to enforce a police state. I must say that this political vengeance will not end until this government is sent home.
We have come to the headquarters of the UNP, also known as the FCID. This is the Prime Minister's main office. This is a place where all those who speak against the Prime Minister and the UNP are hunted. If you speak against Ranil Wickremesinghe tomorrow, the day after, you will receive a letter summoning you to this institution to provide a statement.
The biggest robbery happened in the central bank that was under the Prime Minister. The chief suspect of the case is in Singapore. The government has a moral right to bring the suspect back into the country. What is the government doing about it? They have handed this over to the police and they are just watching.
After being questioned for several hours within the police FCID, the former minister came out and had this to say to the media.
The 9th paragraph of the Constitution says that Buddhism should be protected and developed. If someone sees it as a mistake when the subject minister does it, there is a big question about the future of the country. 2.5 years went by in the government and there were no issues.
There was an almsgiving held at Temple Trees. There were thousands of monks who were brought from rural areas of the country. Did they not use vehicles to bring them?
A viral fever spreading across the southern province has claimed 11 lives thus far. This is a special report filed by Newsfirst.
11 lives have been lost due to the spreading of this fever in the southern part of the country, and around 239 patients have been already admitted to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital. Now, will this be an epidemic? And does this only affect the children? And what made inquiries?
According to medical experts, the disease currently spreading in the province is caused by a combination of 3 viruses. They are the influenza virus, adenovirus, respiratory syncytial virus or RSV. Those under the age of 3 and over the age of 65 are easy prey for the disease. The first diagnosis of the disease was reported from the Karapitiya Hospital. Let's take a look at the situation at the Karapitiya Hospital today. The pediatric intensive care unit at the Karapitiya Hospital is at capacity due to the viral fever spreading across the southern province. Hospital sources say that the disease has claimed the lives of 3 children over the past 24 hours. It does not appear at this moment that the situation is under control.
Now, our provincial correspondents reported that patients don't go to hospitals because of the fear of being affected by this fever. Now, for the past 1 month, the Galle, Matra and Hambantota districts of the southern province have been affected by this fever, And does this only affect the southern province? What about the people who don't reside in the southern part of the country? For all these questions, we spoke to the director of the epidemiology unit, Dr. Anil Disanaika.
Patients are from the southern province. Safety measures should be taken to avoid this from spreading in other parts of the country. We have informed the health sectors in this regard. The influenza can affect anyone. A majority are children. That can be due to many complications. Bacteria entering the system can cause pneumonia. Headache, joint pain, sore throat, cough are the symptoms. It is best if you consult a doctor before determining if it is the influenza or normal fever. Do not send a child out of the house. When sneezing or coughing, always make sure you cover your mouth.
Safety precautions need to be taken by every one of us. So this is a proper way of washing hands and wearing masks to avoid this kind of situation from taking place.
The Janata Vimukti Peramana convened a media briefing today to make clarifications about the 20th amendment to the Constitution they recently passed.
Regardless of when this amendment is passed in this parliament, it will only come into effect after the term of this presidency. Within a term after its passage, parliament has to be dissolved. So a prime minister with these powers can only be elected through a new parliament. We have also changed the process of electing a new prime minister. At an election, any preferred party can name their prime ministerial candidate. A prime minister will be named by the president after the political party which feel that the candidate receives more than a 50% majority in parliament. But the new prime minister's appointment has to be approved by a majority in parliament at the very first sitting of parliament, which should convene in the very first week. And the president has to be appointed within a month. In the new parliament, the president's term in office will be just as long as the term of parliament. We have also included a clause that the chosen president shall not be an active member of any political party nor hold any position in a party during his term in office. The clause also completely abolishes the president's powers of dissolving parliament.
The Pivithuru Helorume convened a media briefing in Colombo today. We can fearlessly say that the 20th Amendment has been drafted by a person who has not stepped foot into a law school even to just find shelter when it rains. According to this draft, the term of this presidency comes to an end on the 9th of January 2020. But according to Article 31(3) of the Constitution, the next presidential election shall be taken not less than 1 month and not more than 2 months before the expiration of the term of office of the president in office. If the presidential election is held on the 9th of December, the new president has until the 23rd to assume duties. This would mean the president who takes office on the 23rd of December has just 16 days to serve as president. So then appoint an executive president to serve for 16 days. This draft proposes an expense of billions of rupees. This draft comes into effect on the 9th of January 2020, where the executive presidency is abolished. And since there won't be a parliamentary election before the 9th of January 2020, by default the Prime Minister will be the head of the Cabinet of Ministers, and it will be none other than the incumbent Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Despite us saying the 20th Amendment is a conspiracy to give Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe executive power, we see on television MP Anrukumar Dissanayake insisting and swearing they will not let that happen. We remind the JVP that this constitution is the superior law of this country, not for some random letter to bring in cheap amendments.
The first thing, Mr. Nihal Galapati, long time back, when President Chandrika Kumaratunga was contesting, in writing, President Chandrika Kumaratunga gave a pledge that we will demolish the executive president once we come into power. So they also tried several times. AVPs were not pushing this long time back. They could have come up at the end of the 100 days, but they have to be in the politics, so they have to show something. So that's why. But I think even 20th Amendment presented to the Parliament, parliamentarians cannot decide it. Finally, this has to come for a referendum. 225 members cannot decide our future. They can't decide our Sri Lankan future. It has to come to people. That's why you call people sovereignty.
The Jatika Helorume convened a media briefing in Colombo today.
Now they have suggested to grow from a mixed system to a parliamentary system. This is not an amendment that they are trying to do. This is a complete change in the constitution. This is a document that demands meaningful change. If you attempt to change the presidential system only without changing the whole election system, this could yield dangerous results. The election system and the presidential system are complementary to each other. If you divide the two, there is a chance that it will make the country unstable. The constitutions should change, but if you are doing it, it should be done as a whole.
Politicians, bureaucrats, professionals and trade unions all have a platform from which to express their views and influence the direction of the country. But what about the people of Sri Lanka? It is with this purpose in mind that News First introduced the People's Mic, a platform from which the people can share their views on the development of the country.
The People's Mic.
The production sector in the country has dropped. We cannot start new businesses. There is no mechanism to bring in money into the country. None of the rulers have answers to these problems. The provincial politicians nor the politicians in our area enact any policy. We must look to bring in a better rule in the future.
They say the economy has been brought up but nothing has actually happened. The country is in ruins. The ministers are blowing their trumpets. The people know better.
We find it hard to do business at present. They said they constructed houses. We saw the roads they built being washed away in the rain. The cost of living goes up day by day. The income is low. We are finding it hard to live.
Though the income in the bus sector is high, no one thinks of the benefits that the bus driver and the conductor should receive. When they leave the bus in the night and come back the next day, they won't have the job. If you take a look at this stand, this place does not even have a water tap. There is no room to take some rest if you have a headache. The people are facing many hardships.
The People's Mic.
The Railway Technicians Trade Union says they will launch a 48-hour trade union action starting from 4 a.m. tomorrow.
On the 9th of this month, the salary of a number of grades was increased by 12.1%. By this, 12,000 railway employees are now experiencing salary discrepancies. Our main objective is to resolve this salary discrepancy. This 12% salary increase must be given to all employees of the railway department. This is the strike action that will go down in history as the strike action that is supported by all grades of the railway department. Commuters may be severely inconvenienced by this. The cabinet members who approved this cabinet paper should take responsibility for this. We have organized this strike action island-wide. Operators, assistants and substitute workers are also joining this strike action.
However, according to the Secretary of the Railway Drivers Association, Indika Dudangoda, railway operators, drivers, station masters, railway controllers, supervisory managers and a number of other trade unions are not taking part in this strike action. He added that as a result, railway operations may not be severely impacted by the strike action. Meanwhile, trade unions attached to the Water Board staged a token strike from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. today. Employees of the head office in Ratmalana and officers in Dehiwala and Moratua participated in the token strike. The trade union action was staged against the failure to increase their salaries at the 3-year salary revision. The trade unions collective of the Water Board said that they will launch an island-wide strike action if the authorities fail to provide solutions.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe attended a progress review meeting that was held at the Kilinochchi District Secretariat this morning.
Minister of Resettlement D.M. Swaminathan, State Minister Vijayakala Maheswaran, Parliamentarian Mave Senadiraja as well as the Governor of the Northern Province attended the meeting. Chief Minister of the Northern Province as well as ministers of the Provincial Council did not attend the progress review meeting. When problems regarding the education sector were brought to the attention of the Prime Minister, this is what he had to say.
The number of students in the school improve and the quality of education improve. We are not a contracting organization just doing cement. I want quality. And quality can come even under trees.
That's true, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one more thing. The Department of Agriculture is having the severe manpower problem, shortage of manpower. Sri Lanka Agriculture Service, right now we are having only 5 officers out of 22 officers in the Sri Lanka Agriculture Service. There is a long delay in conducting the examination. Before that also we had the problem that Tamil speaking agriculture service people are not in the province. So we are not able to expand our extension service and training service to the farming communities. That should be looked into.
I thought the Provincial Department of Agriculture will ask me about growing some crops.
The Met Department is forecasting intermittent showers in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Now, the department says that strong winds will persist in sea areas around the island. Meanwhile, disaster situations across the country triggered by heavy rainfall have affected 174,306 people.
The Disaster Management Center says that 70,376 individuals from 17,976 families who had been displaced as a result of the floods are being housed at 265 temporary shelters. 121 homes have been destroyed while 5,205 homes have been damaged. The DMC added that 166 places of business have also been damaged. The death toll as a result of the disaster situation has risen to 24, while the DMC's Director of Operations, Brigadier Atulari Ratna, noted that another individual has been reported missing. Many parts of the Putlam district are still submerged following heavy showers. A bridge on the Colombo-Putlam main road from Madurang Kadavala to Jayarajpura Kumbu Kadavala has been destroyed by flash floods, which were triggered by the opening of the spill gates of the Kurkumandu Reservoir in Kumbu Kadavala. A correspondent added that the hospitals, schools and other public institutions in the Kumbu Kadavala town have become inaccessible as a result of the bridge being washed away, forcing residents to use alternative routes. Floodwaters which inundated several parts of the Putlam district are gradually receding. The Mavile area in North Tandya is still underwater. This was the situation on the Vattalu-Swatakeyyava main road this afternoon after the road was submerged due to heavy rainfall. Stagnant floodwater is also been reported from Vattala, Handala and Dikkovita. About 60 families displaced by the floods are being given shelter at the Vidyaloka Vidyalaya in Keravalapitia, Handala. The Gampaha-Jayala main road is still underwater in the Ganemul area. Newsfirst teams visited low-lying areas around the Gampaha town today and witnessed how floodwaters had stagnated in many areas. In areas where the floodwaters receded, residents had already commenced the clean-up operations. About 15 families displaced by floods are still being sheltered at the Vijayarama Vihara in Gampaha as their homes are still inaccessible.
Newsfirst captured some stunning footage of a wild elephant who arrived at a house in the Galgamuwa area. Whilst an elephant shook a mango tree to feed itself, this cartoon reveals something similar that took place at the central bank.
look at your news from the international arena. Italy is mired in fresh political turmoil with the appointment of a new interim prime minister and the president facing impeachment calls after he vetoed a choice for finance minister.
In a rare move, President Sergio Mattarella said he could not appoint the Eurosceptic Paolo Savona, citing concerns by investors. The decision ended a bid by Italy's two populist parties to form a coalition. Mattarella has appointed Carlo Cottarelli, a former executive director of the International Monetary Fund, as the interim prime minister. Carlo Cottarelli will now be charged with forming an interim administration. Italy, the Eurozone's fourth biggest economy, has been without a government since elections in March because no political group can form a majority. The Five Star Party had been trying to form a government with another populist party, the Right-Wing League. There is now a real argument between the president and the populists about Italy's position in the EU.
Now for a more detailed report on the political turmoil that has befallen Italy, we are joined by Newsfirst's Chaturanga Hapwarachi.
Thank you, Shalan. Now, words like impeachment, no majority in parliament, and words like coalition are common words to us Sri Lankans in our political sphere, but it looks like the situation is the same even in countries like Italy. Let me take you through what has happened. Now, this gentleman right here, Sergio Mattarella, is the president of Italy, and he has appointed a prime minister to lead his country and to appoint a government and to make sure that the country runs smoothly in terms of the politics. He appointed a person who is also a technocrat and who has no political background. Now, this particular gentleman appointed the government, and the two parties, the coalition parties, were not a coalition back then, but they did not have a problem. But when the finance minister's name came up for approval of this gentleman here, he said, no, I will not approve him because there were problems with the investors. And then when that happened, the parties got together and said, we will impeach you if you do not get this through, approve the finance minister. Then what he had to do was to ask the technocratic, non-political background prime minister to wait and ask Carlo Cottarelli, this gentleman over here, to be the prime minister of Italy, the interim prime minister, and to make sure that he appoints a government and takes the country forward. Now, the latest information is that this gentleman is going to have the election very soon once again. The previous election was in March 2018. So that is the update from there. But we remember, if we come back to Sri Lanka, we remember how when the impeachment happened, ministers were changed. We remember Minister Tilak Marpana, Minister Mangala Samaravira, Minister Ravi Karunanayaka being juggled around. Things like that happening in our parliament. Now, with the lack of a better word, it is kind of shameful that this system, the politics in the world, has also become just about the well-being of people and not about the well-being of the general public. I might be too young to put this all together and to say this is the exact same thing happening in Italy. But from the outlook, from the outset, it looks like these politicians here, as well as these politicians back in Italy, only worry about themselves and their longevity rather than worry about the people. It's back to the main desk.
In your latest from the pitch doctoring scandal, two Sri Lankan cricketers who are linked to Al Jazeera's pitch fixing claims spoke to Sports First on the allegations against them.
Al Jazeera's investigative unit in a documentary exposed assistant manager of the Galle International Cricket Stadium, Taranga Indika, and first-class cricketer Tharindo Mendis, who were prepared to accept money to doctor the pitch to favour the bowlers and ensure guaranteed outcomes. In his documentary, it was revealed that two other former internationals, Jeevantha Kulatunga, a former coach of the Sri Lanka women's team, and Dilhara Lokuhettige, were also linked to these talks on match fixing. I played for Sri Lanka's national cricket team. Even when I was playing, I had no allegations against me. I stopped cricket and came here with my family to live in freedom. Now by reporting such a thing, it has harmed my cricketing life, my name and my image. I have evidence with me. According to doctors' recommendations, I cannot play cricket anymore. I will definitely take legal action against them. I am ready at any time. I am an old player who represented Sri Lanka, so I would never bring any disrepute to the country. Jeevantha Kulatunga, a former coach of the Sri Lanka women's team and a former Sri Lankan cricketer, also responded to the claims against him. It's been nearly a year since this meeting took place. I have to prove my innocence here. I've also issued a media release via email to Al Jazeera and Sri Lanka Cricket stating I am ready to defend my case. We have to be patient. We cannot just give answers at the spur of the moment. When I get my chance, I've indicated that I am ready to come forward and prove my innocence.
Details of cases of pitches being doctored to favour certain parties were revealed on previous occasions as well. Does the murder of the former secretary of the Galle Cricket Club, Halamage Premasiri, have a similar connection? This is a Sports First expose.
On the 18th of September 2017, at a workshop conducted by Sri Lanka Cricket, former Sri Lankan Test fast bowler Lasith Malinga revealed of pitchers being doctored for money to favour certain parties. Malinga made the revelation recalling an incident he experienced at the Suriyava International Cricket Stadium.
During the last couple of tours, we go to the grounds and say we need this amount of grass. When we step away, they start cutting the grass and say they made a mistake with the blade. I don't know what happened, but it happened not once, but twice. Only in the morning do we get to know why the grass has been cut. Before it was match fixing, but today you find pitch fixing. These are two different kind of fixing. Match fixing is something done by the players. Pitch fixing is done by the person preparing the pitch. It is this person who is accused of doctoring the pitch to suit a preferred team. So I believe that you cannot point the finger at the players. Action should definitely be taken against those preparing the pitch.
Al Jazeera's documentary focuses on the second test between Sri Lanka and Australia in August 2016, played in Galle, and the pitch had been doctored to favour the bowlers. On the 3rd of February 2016, Godfrey Dabure, who is currently the manager of the international venues and facilities at Sri Lanka Cricket, had issued a memo to Halamage Premasiri, who was the acting secretary of the Southern Province Cricket Association. The memo calls for a 15-member team be appointed as staff for the Galle International Cricket Stadium. Among the 15 names is Tharindu Indika, who is implicated in the Al Jazeera documentary. It was this memo that states the appointment of Tharindu Indika as assistant manager of the Galle International Cricket Stadium for the first time. In his response to Godfrey Dabure, Halamage says it would be unwise to make any changes in staff, as the current staff and curator has well over 15 years in experience. Halamage on the 25th of February 2016 calls on Godfrey Dabure to reconsider the request given the recent match-fixing allegations against Jayananda Varnavira causing disrepute to the Galle International Cricket Stadium. However, disregarding this letter, the 15-member staff named by Godfrey Dabure was appointed through a letter signed by the CEO of Sri Lanka Cricket on the 29th of February. This letter states the appointments should be made in line with the Australia tour. However, days after the second test against Australia, on the 12th of August 2016, Halamage Premasiri was shot and killed while travelling in a car with his son.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
For more details of these stories, log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Charlotte Benedict.
And I'm Dasnya Thaver.
Good night.